continuing with our look at the annual Torah portion. This week's Torah portion is Korach. Korach, which is Numbers chapter 16, 17, and 18. Numbers chapter 16, verse 1, all the way up through 18, verse 32, which is the end of the 18th chapter. There's 3 chapters here in Korach, dealing primarily with the uprising of Korach, and then subsequently instructions for the further instructions for the high priest. So I wanted to look at a little bit here things from Numbers 16 and 17. Let's read some of it, talk about some of it here. I want to look at Numbers. Let's see how far we want to look at. Let's look at, well, there's a couple things I wanted to think about here. I guess we could just read a little bit at a time here, go through it, and go like that. So let's look at Numbers 16 and read. Let's just start by reading the first 3 verses.
Number 16, verse 1. And Korah, son of Yisor, son of Kohath, son of Levi, took both Danath and Abiram, sons of Eliab, and On, son of Peleth, sons of Reuben, and they rose up before Moshe with some of the children of Israel, 250 leaders of the congregation, called ones of the meeting, men of name. And they assembled against Moshe and against Aaron, and said to them, Enough of you, for all the congregation is set apart, all of them, and Yahweh is in their midst. Why then do you lift up yourselves above the assembly of Yahweh?
Okay, very good. So, interestingly enough, when we look at Korah, who himself is a Levite, he is a Levite himself, and these other 2 who are named, it's interesting that they have these 3 that are named. Korah, who seems to be kind of the ring leader here, he's kind of the instigator of all of this, but it's kind of looks like him and these other 2, Dathan and Abiram, are kind of, they're leading the way with these other 250 men of renown, these men of name, these leaders in the congregation. But it's interesting, the backgrounds, the general backgrounds of these ones. Levi, who is, of course, of the priestly tribe, and then also Reuben, who is the natural firstborn. And so it's interesting that, you have this Levite and this Reubenite who are kind of lobbying here for higher positions. Reuben, who, of course, I'm saying the family, the tribe, who is the, he's the eldest, but kind of as the priest is passed over by Levi. And then Levi, I'm saying the tribe of Levi here, these this son of Levi, Korah, is looking like he is a Levite, just like these Kohanim are Levites. Why can't he be in a position that these sons of Aaron are in? And so there's a revolt. What I don't understand about this is it's not far after another revolt that ended badly for people who were coming against the power structure. Just previously in the previous Torah portion, when we looked at the spies, once the spies came back with a bad report and started to spread the tales of that bad report, they also started talking about the leadership in terms of, being brought out to the wilderness to die. I guess it's kind of a recurring thing that they would say. They end up being out in this wilderness. Things aren't going the way that they want, and they talk about the fact that they've been brought out here to die. And I thought that it was interesting that the three people here, at the forefront belong to these specific tribes, both Reuben and, of course, Levi, who kind of flip-flop in terms of the priest roles and the fact that Korah, being of Levi, feels like he is qualified. I guess the way he's framing it, everybody could be it, but he's the one that's bringing it up. I guess I don't know what he's doing here. If he's really making a case for everybody, anybody step up, anybody come and do this thing that Moses and Aaron are doing, or if he's kind of making a place for his own self. Seems to me that it's the latter of the two, but just the way that he's framing it, the whole congregation, he said, is holy, all of them. And the Most High, he says, Yahweh's in their midst. Okay, so let's keep on going here because, go ahead.
It does look a little bit like nepotism because.
Are you talking about the status quo?
Yeah. Because Aaron is the brother of Moses, and then his family. Moses skips over. You can't say that it's about by Moses' design, because he would have chose his own sons to be the priesthood if that was the case.
Yeah.
He wouldn't choose his other sons. He want to continue his name. As it stands, his name kind of goes away as far as lineage and leadership position. But they're looking at it like his brother gets to be the president or whatever. You know what I mean? Like his brother gets to be empowered, and then now his sons, they feel like they're in the same place in the tree, in the family tree.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, that's basically the thing there. When you look at it, I guess just kind of at a glance, someone would, and they did, they had that thought. Why you and not me? But when you think about what has them there, right? When people was acting up, people were trying to worship this false idol, and the call went out. Who wants to be on the Most High side? It was Levi who stood up, and so it's kind of like that, but at the same time, you know, there's reason, right? But I want to look at a couple more things here. Let's read, let's continue reading down 4 through 11.
And when Moshe heard, he fell on his face and spoke to Korah and all his company, saying, Tomorrow morning Yahweh shall make known who is his and who is set apart, and bring him near to him, and let him bring near to him the one whom he chooses. Do this: take fire holders, Korah, and all your company, and put fire in them, and put incense in them before Yahweh tomorrow. And it shall be that the one whom Yahweh chooses is the set apart one, enough of you, sons of Levi. And Moshe said to Korah, Hear now, you sons of Levi, it is little that to you that the Elohim of Israel has separated you from the congregation of Israel, to bring you near to himself, to perform the service of the dwelling place of Yahweh, and to stand before the congregation to serve them, and that he has brought you near to himself, you and all your brothers, the sons of Levi, with you. Yet you seek the priesthood as well. Therefore, you and all your company are set against Yahweh. And Aaron, what is he that you grumble against him?
Okay, very good. So, one thing that I saw over here, which kind of caused me to look back at something that I had previously thought of, is when we look at verse 6. First of all, I think it's funny that Korah is questioning the authority of Moses and Aaron here. And then in verse 4 and 5, verse 5, Moses begins to give orders. So he's going to be in control, I guess, until they figure out who's in control, I guess. It's like the default. I think that's funny. Like either he's in control or he isn't in control. So he gives his command for what it is that they're getting ready to do. If that's the dispute, his power, you know, he's still exercising his power. But in verse 6, one of the things that he says is to take fire holders. Take fire holders. And also, if we go down and drop down to drop down and read 17 and 18.
And take each one his fire holder, and you shall put incense in it, and let each one bring his fire holder before Yahweh, 250 fire holders, and you and Aaron, each one with his fire holder. So each one took his fire holder and put fire in it, and laid incense on it, and stood at the door of the tent of appointment with Moshe and Aaron.
Okay, very good. So something that I just was thinking about when I looked at this was, if we remember back when we talked about Nadab and Abihu. Nadab and Abihu, when we look at Leviticus chapter 10 and verse 1, where it talks about the fact that each one of them took his fire holder. it basically says the same thing. Machtati. Eish machtati. Each one has their fire holder. The fire holder that belongs to them. When we looked at it, I thought it was interesting because I always thought about the fact that the things that were in the tabernacle, the things that were used in the tabernacle, and the things that went into the most holy place were things that belonged in there. And then so when we look at Nadab and Abihu, who each one of them had their own censer, the incense thing that they put the fire in and put the incense in, and build up the smoke and make a way to go in there. I at that time was adding that to the strange fire, and the fact that they had their personal censers, and adding that to the potential explanation as to what the strange fire was. I was saying then that it could have been the incense holder, it could have been the fire, could have been the actual incense, it could have been all of those things. Oh, and the fact that they were intoxicated. And then when we get to Leviticus chapter 16, where in verse 12, look over in Leviticus 16 and verse 12.
Leviticus.
Yeah, Leviticus.
Sounds like we're in.
It says, and shall take a fire holder filled with burning coals of fire from the slaughter place before Yahweh, with his hands filled with sweet incense beaten fine, and shall bring it inside the veil. Okay,
so the high priest on atonement is to take what it says in the English, it says a fire holder. A fire holder, or even in the Hebrew it says hamachta, which is like the fire holder. Like it has a definite article, the hamachta, as if to say there is a specific fire holder that goes in there. But then when we go back to Numbers, where he's talking to the people who are coming against Moses, who are part of this rebellion from, with Korach, he's saying all of you get your own fire holders, which is again the same word as it was with Nadab and Abihu, as if to say that, which I thought that I was getting to the bottom of some great grand mystery, but I'm still not sure, because when we look at what happens here, these incense, these censers are bronze, and all the stuff that goes into the most holy place is gold. So did they take the bronze? Does the high priest have a gold one, and then all these other people have bronze ones? It's so like I thought, like as I was looking at it, I was like, oh, this is the same as the other thing. But when we look at, let's see, when we go down, let's see where it is. Numbers. We'll go back to Numbers. When we go down and see what happens, I'm trying to see where it is. Because they end up taking all the people's censers and smashing them down and beating them down and causing them to be part of the brazen altar. Because they all died. These guys all died. They get swallowed up. Moses tells them to go get their incense holders and all light their fires, and everybody gets their gets their things, and they kind of have this. It's interesting. In these next two chapters, there's kind of two tests to see who belongs. This one, when we look at what happens with Korah, let's see. Against the peer of the congregation. Look at back to Numbers and look at verse 19 through 26.
Number 16.
Yeah, verse 19.
It says, and Korah assembled all the congregation against them at the door of the tent of appointment. Then the esteem of Yahweh appeared to all the congregation. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe and to Aaron, saying, separate yourselves from the midst of this congregation, and let me consume them in a moment. But they fell on their faces and said, O Elohim of the spirits of all flesh, when one man sins, are you wroth with all the congregation? And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the congregation, saying, move away from around the tents of Korah, Dan, and Abiram. So Moshe rose up and went to Danath and Abiram, and the elders of Israel followed him. And he spoke to the congregation, saying, please turn away from the tents of these wrong men. Do not touch whatever belongs to them. These should be consumed in all their sins.
Okay, so it's interesting, I think, when we look at this, because the way that it plays out, it could look like it's Moses who like does something to the people. And I think that plays into what we see happen in the very next chapter. But, they're basically saying, you need to get away from these people because something bad's about to happen to them. Mm-hmm. Because again, they're causing this thing. They're rising up against Moses and Aaron. But if the Most High is the one who put Moses and Aaron in the positions that they're in, then he's not coming up against the people, he's coming up against the Most High. And so the rebellion is not so much about Aaron, but it's about the Most High. And so the Most High, he has, he's about to do something. But when we look at 27, this is another interesting thing that I saw when we was looking at this. Read 27 through 32.
Then they moved away from around the tents of Korah, Danath, and Abiram. And Danath and Abiram came out and stood at the door of their tents, and their wives and their sons and their little children. And Moshe said, by this you know that Yahweh has sent me to do all these works, that they are not of my own heart. If these die, as all men do, or if they are visited, as all men are visited, Yahweh has not sent me. But if Yahweh creates what is unheard of, and the earth opens its mouth and swallows them up with all that belongs to them, and they go down alive into Sheol, then you shall know that these men have scorned Yahweh. And it came to be, as he ended speaking all these words, that the ground under them split apart, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up, and their households, and all the men with Korah, with all their goods.
Okay, so when you look at what happens over here, it very well could look like it's Moses that does all of this. It didn't say that Yahweh said, you stand over here, if you just die regular style, then all this stuff is not, then you're right. But if the Most High comes and let's say opens up the earth and you fall in it, then Yahweh is right. But what made him say what he said? Like it's almost like Moses is like pronounces like a judgment on the people, and the Most High is like, I'll do that.
I like that.
Yeah. Let that happen to him. Like it's not like the Most High Yahweh said unto Moses, say this to them. Like Moses was like, all right, if you guys just die just like regular people die, then you're right. But if this thing happens, he said, if Yahweh creates an unheard of, if Yahweh creates what is unheard of, the earth opens its mouth and swallows them up alive, then Yahweh is the one who's right here. And so I just thought that it was interesting that we have these. So the Most High's kind of, he verifies the position that Moses is in. Because, I mean, we could say that the Most High gave Moses maybe some divine words to speak, but the scripture don't say that. I mean, we could maybe think it, or an argument could be made that the Most High spoke those things to Moses and caused him to say it, but it don't literally say that. But what does happen is Moses speaks, he makes a judgment, and the Most High actually stands behind the judgment that Moses makes, which actually verifies the position that the Most High has put Moses in the first place. And so I thought that was interesting, but because of the way that it's done, it seems like, the people are able to look at this and still kind of question the whole situation and maybe even blame Moses. Because when you look, if we drop down, and that's what they do. If you drop down the verse, start reading down at verse 41.
It says, but all the congregation of the children of Israel grumbled against Moshe and against Aaron on the next day, saying, you have killed the people of Yahweh.
Moses did it, right? They're blaming Moses. Keep on going.
And it came to be, when the congregation assembled against Moshe and against Aaron, they had turned towards the tent of appointment, and see, the cloud covered it, and the esteem of Yahweh appeared. And Moshe and Aaron came before the tent of appointment, and Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, arise from amidst this congregation, and let me consume them in a moment. And they fell on their faces. And so Moshe said to Aaron, take the fire holder and put fire in it from the slaughter place, and lay incense on it, and go. Hurry to the congregation and make atonement for them, for the wrath has gone out from Yahweh, the plague has begun.
Okay, very good. So the people grumble against Moses, and the Most High is beginning to continue now to take out more of these grumblers. It's interesting that when we think about, again, the last portion where the sentence of being in the wilderness for 40 years goes forth, and then almost just right away we see like these different instances of kind of mass deaths that are going on as judgment of the people for their disobedience. and their doubt and faithlessness of in regards to the Most High. The whole reason that they got the sentence in the first place was faithlessness, but it was again those 12 people. But as we look here and see that we have here hundreds of people that are dying and facing judgment, the reason behind the death of all of these people is the same. And so we can't look at the Most High and say, man, that's messed up that just because the leaders of the tribes came back with that bad report, maybe they influenced the other people to cause them to think a certain kind of way, but now they all getting judged. But we're able to see the hearts of a large portion of the people, and their hearts is showing that they are in fact a faithless people, and they're dying for the exact same reason that they were sentenced to be in the wilderness for the 40 years, which is faithlessness. As the Most High said who he was going to have be in control of things, then for you to come against it is you coming against the word of the Most High, and it's you exhibiting faithlessness. And so when we look at the rest of this chapter here, the people die, and Moses comes and he stands in the gap for the people, and the plague ends. But then in the next chapter, chapter 17, is back really at the same place again when you deal with the thing with Aaron and the rods of the. Here, let's just read a few verses. Let's just read. Let's read 17:1 through 6.
And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Israel and take from them a rod from each father's house, all the leaders according to their fathers' houses, 12 rods. Write each one's name on his rod, and write Aaron's name on the rod of Levi. For there is one rod for the head of each father's house. You should then place them on the tent of appointment before the witness, where I will meet you. And it shall be that the rod of the man whom I choose buds, and I shall rid myself of the grumblings of the children of Israel, which they grumble against you. And Moshe spoke to the children of Israel, and all the leaders gave him a rod each for each leader according to their father's houses, 12 rods, and a rod of Aaron was among their rods.
Okay, very good. So to kind of rectify the issue of there being any confusion as to who was supposed to be doing what, maybe the people, they obviously from back in the other chapter, they were grumbling against Moses and Aaron because of what had happened, as if it was their fault. And so still, they have these thoughts. And so the Most High, as it says, the Most High speaks unto Moses. Now we see the Most High speaks unto Moses, and he's telling him to do a thing. Still to kind of stay the people's mind as to who, should be, the high priest here. And they have the thing with the rods, and who's ever rod buds, then that's the one. And so, they go through the thing, Aaron's rod, of course, buds, and then if we drop all the way down to the last, the 3 verses, 11, here, read 11 through 13 there.
And Moshe did as Yahweh had commanded him, so he did. And the children of Israel spoke to Moshe, saying, see, we shall die, we shall perish, we shall all perish. Anyone who comes near to the dwelling place of Yahweh dies. Shall we be consumed to die?
Okay, so we go all the way down to the bottom. We're able to see that we know who's who. We know who's who. The Most High caused this thing to happen with a dead stick. You know, by the time you have a rod that you're using as like a walking stick, there's no life left in that thing. So for that thing to miraculously bud and bring forth fruit and ripe almonds, you know, it's a clear picture of the Most High. So they know anybody who comes into that dwelling place who's not supposed to be there, they will suffer the consequence of testing the Most High and his choice that he has made. And so I just thought that it was interesting when we look at, you know, these issues here again, that these things kind of verify the right ruling of the Most High. We can't see what he's able to see. The Most High is able to know that the hearts of this first generation that came out of Egypt, there was no fixing these people. They saw what you would think would have caused them to believe in the Most High and all the things that he's able to do. But because of their wicked hearts, it didn't matter what miracles they saw. They weren't able to be changed. And so their hearts were just inherently wicked, and they weren't able to ever get to the place of being redeemed, reconciled in their hearts. And so, you know, what we'll see over the accounts of the next 38 years in the wilderness is these people out here dying as a result of their sin. Not because something that the Most High said and they're just going to die just because of, because of what those 12 spies did. Each one of them is going to die in their sin because of their wicked hearts. But I think that it's important for us to be able to look at the bottom of all of this and understand that it's a faith issue is the problem with every single one of them. Every single one of them is a faith issue, which is putting them, you know, in the position that they are in. And so, you know, it should be helpful for us as individuals to be able to understand that, you know, the scriptures tell us, you know, that it's impossible. Without faith, it's impossible to please Elohim. You cannot be on the right side of the Most High's will and his judgment if you have live a life of doubt and faithlessness, because there's just various ways that manifests itself, and we're able to just see a few examples of that over here with Korah, both Korah's rebellion and the whole Aaron's budded rod situation.
I just was going to say that we had our I don't even know what to call it. It was a seminar, I guess. But one of the first seminar expenses.
Oh, you call that a seminar? Okay.
But you know, one of the first things that we discussed was how decisions was going to be made,
Yeah.
who was going to be, you know, making decision makers. Even like how votes would count or whatever. And I think that's pretty much what we see in the wilderness. One of the first tests is the gonna be in charge, and, you know, the people who didn't like it, they got removed from the situation involuntarily. But, you know, they couldn't, you can't have, how can you move forward if you got a whole bunch of people feeling like they should be the ones making the decisions, or they should be the ones in charge, or they should be the ones in the priest's position? You can't keep moving forward like that.
Yeah.
Like, you're always gonna have a faction or factions in the group, and those people just had to get removed from the situation.
Yeah.
And that was their choice, because they could have decided to go with the status quo, but they chose to buck up against it.
And the other thing is that in their actions, the way in which they behaved disqualifies them anyway.
Right.
They're not acting in a way that is even remotely connected to the way that somebody who should be leading the people should be acting. Right? And so just for the simple fact that they did what they did, the way that they did it, that in and of itself kind of disqualifies them. You know, not to mention the fact that the Most High is the one who set the people up in the first place. But because they're going around, and it says that if we look back at 16, it says that, they rose up before Moses with the 250 leaders of the congregation, the men of renown. They didn't just all of a sudden just show up there in front of Moses. Somebody had to go and be like, hey, check this out. I don't really like how our stuff is going. Why don't we go up here and go against Moses and Aaron? And maybe one of us could be, probably me, but let's, go up here and see about a switch up. And so he had to do that at least 250 times. As he's going around to the different ones.
Some of them was like, nah, I saw what happened to Nadab and Abihu, so I don't think that's something I want to be doing.
Well, when you think about it, okay, so you have these people, these chosen ones. It's a weird number when you think about the fact that there's, you have the 12 tribes. I don't know what percentage of, wherever they were at, say 600,000 people, men that was there, what percentage of 600,000 is 250? I don't know what that percentage is, but I wonder, yeah, what's the percentage?
What's the
600,000. What percentage of 600,000 is 250?
41%, 42%?
Huh? 250 is 41%?
Well, you said 250,000.
No. 250.
Sorry. Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. That's way too big.
In the 30s.
I have this fan on this.
It's like,
Oh, it's so loud. I know it's so loud.
That's not that big of a percent. It's only 4%.
4%. Okay, but the point is, what'd you say?
You said 600,000?
600,000,
Uh-huh.
250.
Oh, 250 people.
Yeah, out of
Oh, I
the
thought
600,000.
250,000.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, never mind.
So it's 4%.
I was about to get my
But-
notes back.
I was off.
I'm saying, yeah. I'm saying that I never thought about that. How many people did he go to get to that 250 number?
Yeah.
Was there any that was like, man, I ain't doing that, you crazy?
I think there had to be some.
Yeah.
I don't want that responsibility. You know.
You would think, but it ain't nothing put past them, these people over here. But the point is that the common denominator here is, which is interesting because we kind of look at something similar when we look at the New Testament, is that, you know, people's behavior, it has to align with the character of the Most High. And if it's not in line with the character of the Most High, you know, you can't say that that person is functioning properly. Like you can't talk about somebody and say that they're in the right in any way if when you look at that person, the thing that they're exhibiting is things that's contrary to the character of the Most High. Like someone's behavior, it verifies their relationship with the Most High. And so these people who wanted to be in charge so bad, you know, again, like I said, the action that they tried to take, the way in which they did it, disqualified them before anything. All right, very good. All right, so that being said, there's much more that can be said about all of these things. We can go ahead and reference back to the archives. We're able to see all of the chapters and.
I want to add something. It led me to think about presidency today, like how they have debates and all this other stuff. And say that votershipness is down because they look at the people who are leading out this country and they're just like, you don't seem qualified. Like there's no, but it's like it's not what they're saying because they're technically saying all the right things is how they go about living their lives.
Yeah, this is so crazy when you think about this world that we live in. It proves, and the world that we live in proves itself to be wicked. It proves itself to be wicked and corrupt because why in the whole entire world is any intelligent American, why do we, I'm including myself as an intelligent American, why would we look at the choices and think in our minds, really, these two are the two most qualified people in all of the nation? Like if you think that, oh no,
she's on the wall. She's not here out yet.
oh, I can't say.
Not yet.
If that's what you think, should be leading you, like it don't make any sense. And so I'm saying that it can't. This stuff ain't real.
All that's it all the
It
time.
can't be.
It's a joke.
It can't be. How can I take it seriously?
The whole thing's a joke.
How can I take it seriously when these are the choices? Like this is what we got to choose from?
It's a comedy show.
I thought it was crazy when they talked about people hitting the ball partner and golf. Because I'm like, what is that going to do?
This is what we're talking about? Like this is where we at.
Entertainment. But I want to add too, so you saying with this situation, number 16, 17, 18, that they wanted a consensus. They wanted a number 6. We was trying to do number 6. But the Most High set up a number 1.
He said
Leaders. But they wanted another 6.
Yeah.
Number 6.
Yeah.
I just thought that was funny for me. We just went through this weekend. You don't get a consensus with the Most High.
No.
You gotta do what he say or not.
You gonna say what's gonna
He
That's
said
it.
what it's gonna be, and that's what it's gonna be.
Yeah, ain't no agreeing or
You don't
you
get-
disagree,
don't-
you out of
You
here.
don't gotta be happy with it.
Yeah, it ain't
It's
up
gotta be what he said it gonna be.
Right.
Just like Daddy said, because I said so.